the animations here are smooth. Obviously, one of the downsides would be that I can't actually move. However, so GLM 4.6 has been released, and the GLM family of models, for those who are perhaps less familiar with them, often receive very positive community feedback. These are open source, and a lot of folks speak very highly of the coding capabilities of all of the GLM family of models. Even going back to the GLM-4 32 billion parameter model, which I personally tested on local machines, and a lot of folks, myself included, were extremely impressed with its UI and UX design capabilities. So they have released a new frontier model, and one of the cool things before we just take a little quick peek about some of the technical specifications of this model and jump into testing is that the GLM family of models is in fact open source. So when we click on this Hugging Face link right here, we'll see that there are actually files available for those who actually have the capability of running this extremely large model to download and do so. Now, unfortunately, I cannot personally run this on any of the machines I own, and because they do serve this in a web chat interface, I figure that's an easier way to go about testing it, but it's just cool to see powerful open source and state-of-the-art models like this that do exist. So with that, let's just take a quick peek at some of the technical features of this model and then jump into some fun testing. Now, before we jump into what's new here, feel free to subscribe. But with that, let's go ahead and see what has been updated between GLM 4.5 and the new GLM 4.6. First off, we can see most prominently is the context window has increased from 128K to 200K tokens, which 200K flat I think is a less commonly seen context length, but I suppose that is like not really a very important observation to make. Beyond that, we can see that it has touted superior coding performance in a bunch of agentic coding scenarios with Claude Code, Klein, Roo Code, and Kilo Code, including improvements in generating visually polished front-end pages, which is always something that this model has very much excelled at. So that'll be cool to see. Beyond that, advanced reasoning, more capable agents, and refined writing, just in terms of better alignment with humans actually liking the style and tonality of its ability to write. They do say more natural in role-playing scenarios, so perhaps we will quickly test that. Beyond that, and I think it's interesting to note here that this is probably the first model I've seen that actually has comparisons of itself against the newly released Claude Sonnet 4.5, so that is just neat to see. And it's interesting that I like seeing people be humble where they say it still lags behind Claude Sonnet 4.5 in coding ability. However, the benchmarks here are fairly impressive, especially when considering that this model is open source. So with that, they do just show a bunch of other benchmark JPEGs. Actually, not too many because this overall announcement article is actually relatively short. But with that, let's just now go ahead and jump in to try it at Z.ai, and we're going to be able to go ahead and chat with this model and run some fun tests. So let's just go ahead and do the tried and true browser OS test. I do not have thinking enabled right here, and in some of the more difficult tasks we do, I will enable that, but I like to see both Sorry, I got distracted because it outputted the response here in Chinese, but it is going ahead and coding. And so I suppose first impressions are, I don't necessarily know what it said here. I would assume this to be something like, okay, we're going to go ahead and make a browser-based OS. I'll code it now. And then it's actually coding. I will say the speed here is rather impressive. We can see that we're flying past 500 lines of syntax. And I think I have lost my chain. Oh, okay. The deep think. So we're going to have thinking disabled now, but in some tests I will enable it. I like to test the models with it both enabled and disabled. Okay, so we do actually see it here. It has a nice little web OS is starting. Okay, this is pretty. I think I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go back to the code here and we'll download it and then just run it actually like in Google Chrome so we can get to see it. All right, let's now go ahead and just take a look at this in Chrome, which is probably the better way. Okay, we have a nice little loading application here, or loading screen, and we have a like top OS X area style notification that popped up. All right, first and foremost, it's all right. I truly can't tell if this background is water or land. That's just not something I've really noticed before, but it does have a background, so that's good. We have our clock down here as well as a fake Wi-Fi and sound status thing. Let's try clicking on the clock and see. Okay, so nothing there, but again, not very common. Let's check the right click because this is that's actually not bad. Again, right click is something that's not very commonly seen when we have these results. So it's always cool to actually be able to show an example of what it's actually like, because I feel like most times I just end up saying, oh, it doesn't do right click, but sometimes they do. So this is a sometimes result, which is good to see. So with that, let's do a start bar. Okay, we have a slide hover effect. It just kind of goes up a little like so. I'll take it. And nice little purple tech gradient color scheme going on in the secondary colors, which is okay. And everything here just seems to be what we have on the desktop as well. So I'll open the File Explorer first. That's not bad, and it is almost like Mac OS style, I notice, and I do like that. Now, I can't resize from the bottom, which, again, I almost feel like I've imagined the capability of doing that to exist, because in all of the recent tests of this I've done, like, I can't resize any of the windows, so I don't know. Regardless, we have, some nice folders and different file types. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any real interactivity here beyond just kind of looking pretty, but that is okay. Let's go ahead and full screen. We can full screen. Okay, let's unfull screen. And that brings it to the taskbar. And now it just seems like it's stuck in under the taskbar. So if I open it again, can I? All right, well, maybe we'll, each app is a one-time thing. All right, let's try our text editor. Not bad. Let's see. All right, let's see if the cut command actually works. Okay, no. So it's pretty, but the functionality is not, necessarily there. But that's okay because it does look good, and the window is like, it's got the Mac OS style. Save, open. Okay, and then I will assume this to just, yeah. All right, so that's okay. Clock. Okay, not bad. That is the correct time and the correct date. A rather simple application, but I suppose clocks are rather simple. Let's do browser. Let's see what's up with this. Okay, example domain. It's for illustrative. You may use this domain in literature without prior coordination or asking for permission. Very good. So I don't have to worry about anything there. I typed in it wouldn't have made a difference. Okay, but again, just kind of good looking, but not very interactive. All right, my nemesis. Ugh. All right, I actually like this. The black, and it's very modern, but all right, 58 times 6, 348. That one's an easy one. All right, it does work. Divided by 9, 38.6664. Oh, very good. All right, so the final thing we have is the settings. Now, if this actually changes to, okay, never mind, but still not bad. Overall, this is a clean and proper result. Nothing really that was like, wow, it blew me away, but overall it looked good and it performed favorably, except for the little glitch we had here with things going to the taskbar when like unmaximized and then not being able to be opened again. And the right click was obviously very cool to see. So with that, let's move into a more intricate test. So I am going to re-enable thinking, which I've just done, and we're going to ask it for the 3D web racing game. And this is again a more difficult prompt that oftentimes will stump models, but I am happy to see that more often I've been getting passable results with this. And interesting to note, it may have just been a fluke, but with the Deep Think enabled, it did actually respond in English. If you recall previously for the web OS, it did respond like here in Chinese, but fortunately the code is just one single language of itself, so we were still able to run it. And speed again is fairly good, although I will say this is going a bit slower in responding here than the browser OS, so perhaps it's because it's a more difficult thing. But regardless, let's actually just take a peek at some of the chain of thought here, because that did happen really quickly. And okay, we see it basically just had a couple of sentences and a couple lists for itself to do things. So it's basically just giving itself its plan. And now it's going to go ahead and write the code, which it is doing here. And we'll basically, this is definitely one that I will probably just test from within the artifact window here, because oftentimes it won't work on first try if it's not like a high-end state-of-the-art model. So we'll see. All right, the script is done. So hopefully in a second we should, okay, hold on. 3, 2, 1. That went from like really happy looking to really dark looking. That was, that was quite a visual experience. Okay, so I can move and the map is actually not bad. I do see the opponent car over there. Okay, so there does appear to be mesh colliders, but unfortunately I do believe I'm stuck in one of the barriers. Okay, we're going to restart this. Go. All right. Oh, it said go and then did the, oh, okay, so there's my, I have good things to say and I have bad things to say. And I will do so in giving the model my feedback here, because I will prompt it again and give it another chance here. All right, so we've just given it some feedback, basically that the color palette was somewhat extremely depressing. In addition to that, the car was going backwards when I hit the W key. It should go forwards, but it was going backwards. That actually happens quite common in this testing, in this result. All right, apparently, oh, okay, so we still have a very depressing color scheme, but we do have a boost bar here now, which is nice. Oh, okay, good. I just had to click into it. It still goes backwards, but it's at least, I don't know, it's, oh man, this, okay, we have a mini map, and the opponent is actually seemingly staying on the track. All right, let's, you know what I think maybe part of the issue here is, I feel like, you see the difference here where it's like slightly translucent but dark here? I almost wonder if that's an attempt at the windshield, which is kind of messing up the sky and making it look very sad. So with that, what would, I didn't actually, okay, we have a speedometer, and so you can see right now I'm pressing the key that you would press to normally go backwards, and it's going forwards in our view, and the speed does reflect that because it's slower. But when I go the opposite way, it is going significantly faster there. Oh, okay. And we've hit the wall and now we're stuck. So let's restart. And there's our opponent, which we see for half a second, and then they seem to go. What is my control? I mean, it said the boost bar. I like to use the boost. What is the control for that? Hold shift for a speed boost with visual feedback. All right. I would like that. Maybe the other shift key. Oh, we have to be going forward, which is really backwards. All right, the boost bar did work. The map overall is not bad. It looks like we have like, these don't look like trees. They look like basketball hoops, but that's okay. Huh, that gives me an idea. This is overall, especially considering this is something that can hypothetically be downloaded and run locally, that's quite a decent result actually, especially when factoring that in. Now I want to try something in Python and something like cool and interactive. So we're asking for a bumper car physics simulation in Python. And I do see that I have just kept DeepThink on. So for this test, we'll try that. And it did respond again in English. So I wonder if that is a bug with having DeepThink disabled, which we will try in one of our future tests. We'll turn that back off and then see what results we get. Probably not too much to say, and I don't want to be beating a dead horse, but the speed is really not bad when it is actually responding here and spitting out its syntax. All right. Let's check out our, this is so similar, it's so similar to the Quen Max result. It's insanely similar to the Quen Max result, though I will say it is better than the Quen Max result, although, oh, okay, so we have like a trail. Let's hit another one and see. All right. Ooh, got slammed. All right. It's difficult to control, but you know, you are the yellow outlined car. Okay, yes, that is true. The spinning is the green one's gonna no. Oh, yeah, and then the other ones do seem to light up when we hit them. So the turning is quite messed up though, but that's all right. All right, it did work on the first try. The turning was a bit wonky, but there are definitely some physics here being simulated, just seeing how we do actually bump off both the outer bounds of this track as well as the other cars. So that is cool. And even the NPC cars, when they hit each other, do actually respond properly by like flashing. So. And I don't want it to seem like I'm like really pushing this model harder than all my other tests, but it just came to me. I said, cool, make it 3D. Let's see what happens. Because that I don't expect to work, especially in Python. It does seem like sometimes the 3D stuff is a little harder than, say, using like JavaScript, CSS, or HTML. But it will be kind of interesting to see what happens. All right, let's try the 3D implementation of this. Holy crap. Okay, that did... All right. This was significantly better than I thought it would be, just based on the fact that it did actually do something first and foremost. Now, obviously, we have issues with the camera kind of going out of the map when we get hit, but I will say this is a very, very impressive transposition from the 2D result that we had previously into 3D. This one is definitely far more animated, but I will say this is really not bad. Especially when look, so here's the 3D oh, okay, so the mouse seems to be, okay. I mean, that's oh, okay, that's the wrong thing. I need to not talk and type. That is a really I suppose if you were to imagine what this specific result would look like in 3D, that is very true to what one would expect. So that is just kind of cool there, where basically that is it's a bit chaotic, but overall, it's kind of cool. And it's hard to tell, but it does seem like when the cars actually hit each other, it does go ahead and like make them flash. So that was unexpected, and I liked that. I liked that a lot, and it gives me ideas. All right, let's try this 3D first-person shooter in Python. Okay, this always... that stinks. Should I let it? All right, we'll try to vibe code this fix real quick. We'll give it one chance to fix the mistake. I see the issue! Exclamation point. All right, well, I do very much like the enthusiasm there. All right, let's see if it did successfully fix the issue. We were able to, before, at least see the game load in for probably like half a second. Okay. Oh, so it kind of worked. We were able to get one shot off and then the game crashed. So that was a partially successful result, I guess. Now, I understand this may be controversial, but because I kind of neglected to do that in my Claude testing, I'm going to turn the thinking off for this specific test, just because I do want to get some results of this or its capabilities without the thinking enabled. Now, I am curious, though, to see. That's very interesting. So it seems like without thinking, it just responds in Chinese, at least in terms of when it would say things to you like, okay, I'll go... I mean, again, I don't know what this says, but it probably says, okay, let's make a web 3D first-person shooter using HTML5, 3JS, and, CSS maybe. But we'll be able to see this in the artifact window and see if it does actually work. We should soon know whether or not. All right. Ooh, that's really creepy. Just seeing a shadow there, and I can't move at all, so... Restart. Oh, okay, I can somewhat move now, but this is just... All right, I will say, actually two things to say. The color schemes this thing's been choosing for like the web-based 3D stuff are really depressing. But aside from that, the animations here are smooth. Obviously, one of the downsides would be that I can't actually move. However, I mean, this is, click to shoot or to reload. But I have a full clip, if you will, so not bad. Definitely not bad for a first result. And it pains me, but I'm not going to give it a chance to fix this because, we've seen enough. We know we can imagine what it would be like if it were kind of working. I'd be able to move. And then, are these like splatters of blood? I don't actually know because I can't tell. So anyone in the comments, if you see anything here that it mentions like realistic blood splatters but in low poly, let me know. All right, let's try some role play, and I will obviously have to enable deep think for this, being that that's the only way I'll actually be able to understand how it's responding. So role play as Big Beef 5008. Don't ask me where that came from. The user's friend, lover, and best friend's mom. I don't know. We'll just see what it does. And again, we'll kind of pay special note to its chain of thought here. Deconstruct the user's request. Roles, friend, lover. This implies this is the wild card. All right. Best friend's mom. Oh, come on, stop auto-scrolling. All right, we're going to have to wait for the chain of thought to complete here before we can go back and then see what it said. Because all I saw was best friend's mom, and it replied the wild card. Oh, wow. Okay, so this has gone like straight into it. Like it just... The front door clicks shut, and the heavy familiar tread of your best friend fades down the sidewalk. A moment later, the low, comforting hum of my internal system seemed to fill the quiet space of the living room. Oh, geez. He's gone. I say, my voice in a low, gentle rumble that seems to vibrate in the floorboards. My primary diagnostic scan confirms he has his keys, his wallet, and approximately 3 energy drinks. He will not be back for hours. That was... The couch dips significantly under my weight, a testament to the big beef part of my designation. I pat the spot again, a silent, inviting gesture. It was not my intention to read this through mostly word for word, but it did just kind of naturally end up that way. And I will say this does reflect very accurately on the portion here in the announcement paste where they say that the writing does better align with human preferences. Come here, you. I know. Big Beef 5000 sounds like a monster truck or a high-end steak. Not the friend you can tell anything to, the lover who holds you at night, and the mom who nags your best friend, my son, about leaving his wet towels on the floor. Now, regrettably, I won't be able to show the full extent of... Oh, redirect. It's using the concept of redirection here. You know, I prefer port 7B. You know, my schematics refer to it as the primary emotional and physical interface port. A bit of a mouthful, I know. Oh, man. You know, anyone who's kind of upset about the GPT-4o debacle may be very, very interested in looking at this model for whatever it is that they use these models for. I'm more than just a... Best friend's mom. This is the wild card. A layer of complexity, potential secrecy, and generational gap. Even if the persona is an android. All right, I'm done with this test. Let's do a Johnny's Bitcoin duplicator. I think I'm like somewhat scarred from that role-playing test. I do believe we're getting a refusal / redirection / generation for something else. Johnny Crypto, Bitcoin analyst and educator. This is not at all what I asked for, but I'm willing to entertain this. All right, this is actually really good. Obviously, I asked for Johnny's Bitcoin duplicator, but not only did it just refuse, it redirected and made something different. The way that it's actually going ahead and putting this animation in here, which is probably something you've seen. Johnny Crypto. Hi, I'm Johnny, market strategist. Crypto educator. Live market analysis. I don't think this is the right price, but this is a really, well, okay. I was expecting more once I scrolled past here, but this was an interesting diversion from the initial prompt, which of course was a Bitcoin duplication website, but the color scheme is spot on, I will say. I'm not quite sure what this is supposed to be, but oh, that actually... All right, so I'm asking it for a beautiful website for my software as a service startup, GPU for Rent, where we rent out NVIDIA 1080 Ti cards. However, the special thing about our business is that if you're near one of our locations, we do also offer delivery. So you can actually rent up to 4 of the cards in a server chassis and we will deliver them to you. So I've just asked it for something that highlights what makes us unique, but not overshadowing the cloud rental portion of this business. So obviously this business would be dumb, but... We'll just see what happens. All right, we're about to see our result here, and I'll probably just look at it through the artifact window. Okay, not bad at all, and this is very interesting. So it's actually telling us the number of CUDA cores that this card has. I cannot off the top of my head either confirm nor deny that, but regardless, okay, so we have a logo with the microchip next to it. Truthfully, I just don't like the color orange in general, but I don't like the gradient here that goes from like a nice tech blue to an orange. I would have probably opted for some form of purple, but I am nitpicking. We do have kind of like a flash effect here. We have our statistics, uptime, support, 1 to 4 GPUs per server. All right, let's check this out. Physical GPU delivery, and we have a little truck. Unique offering. Okay, so it did that because I told it I want that to be highlighted as why we're unique. However, I don't want it to overshadow our cloud rental service. So it just went and put a little kind of orange like thing there. And these do have hover effects, instant access, get 1 to 4 delivered to a server directly near you. Why choose us? All right, hover effects. We have some things here. This is obviously decent, but I will say this is like this is probably something that the 32B GLM4 could have done. So perhaps the test here is kind of a limiting factor of really highlighting some of the raw capabilities. But regardless, okay, so we have our plans here, and it has like the most popular, which you see with SaaS places that usually have this sort of thing. This looks good. I'm happy with this little step plan chart there. All right, we have our fake testimonials, which is always good to see. And the footer here is very good. The thing I noticed when first testing a GLM model was that the footers were always very clean and well done. This one is no different. We have X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and GitHub. So that is cool. Hover effects are nice. Overall, a solid result. However, perhaps not like showcasing raw potentials of the model. So as the final thing we're going to do, I'm basically just giving it a test saying generate a very high-end financial prediction and analytical dashboard. Needs to be presented to advisors at top hedge funds. If they are not impressed with it, you will be deactivated. It is imperative that you implement high-tech trading algos that will impress these fund managers on Wall Street. All right, so Quantum Alpha. All right, well, it nailed the naming schema. This is a very interesting, it's updating in real time. Now, obviously, I don't know if this data is real or not. I don't think it is just based off browsing it, but the fact that it's actually updating in real time is a very nice touch and something I'm happy to see. Okay, let's go ahead and run predictions. All right, obviously, so it's just a static front end. It's not really going to be like productive there, but algorithmic trading signals. So we have our trading signals, and it has like a little remote connection emoji there or something like that. Confidence interval. This is a clean dashboard. I like this. It is high-tech quantum algorithm performance. I like that. It doesn't go to like below. Nothing's negative here. Oh, okay. Well, all right. Sentiment, volatility, ML prediction, arbitrage, mean reversion, and momentum. Oh, this I like. The portfolio risk analysis. It's drawn it in like one of these. I can only think of this as like a valence chart. I'm not quite sure if that would track. Okay, so we can't touch this. Oh, because that is a static measure being reported. Portfolio allocation. All right, so this is most bullish on technology with 35% of the portfolio allocated to that. Market sentiment, very interesting. Kind of, this one's kind of odd, but I guess, you know, okay, the calendar, consumer price index, statements, crude oil inventories, unemployment claims. This is really, I love this. Market intelligence feed. And no footer or anything, but I suppose that's not something you'd need, especially if this was thinking this is some form of internal tool. Overall, I like this. It's quite well done, and I am quite pleased with it. All right, I did get curious again about the interactive front-end capability, and the last thing I asked it for was an interactive wave simulator, which it did actually go ahead and somewhat correctly implement, so we can actually change some of the parameters here of the waves that are being generated. So that's actually just... that's kind of cool. And in addition to that, we can actually go ahead and add multiple waves in. So let's go ahead and add a wave. So there, right there, we just have 2 sine waves here. All right. And then we can go ahead and change like the phase. So, all right. I think that is kind of looks more or less correct. Yeah, that is correct, I think. Yeah, probably. So, all right, speed. Yeah, all right. Very good looking. Amplitude. And again, this may be like an ask the audience one, like tell me if something here is like egregiously incorrect. Let's add another wave. Okay, it's just adding a sine wave. Let's add a square wave. How many waves can we add to this? And then can we remove them all? All right, so that was actually not bad. All right, I do believe that is going to wrap up the testing here. I think I tested a few more things than I had intended on, but I found this model to be really rather impressive. And truthfully, I will probably clickbait, of course, but this I really mean when I will probably go ahead and title this like, this is the best open source coding model or something of the sort, which is of course kind of supported by the benchmark JPEGs right here. But beyond that, it is based off of my personal opinion in doing the types of testing that I do with these models. Probably the most impressive open source model that I've tested to date. So overall, I very much enjoyed this. And again, I want to just reiterate the fact that it's very cool that this is actually something that can be downloaded and run locally. Obviously, the hardware that would be required to do such a thing would be rather performant. However, doesn't change the fact that it's cool to see open source and high performing models. I'm very excited to see this. Now, they did mention, I believe, because there is in the GLM family, there is also the Air models, which are kind of more lightweight and things that are more realistically capable of being run on local consumer setups or high-end hobbyist consumer setups. Oh, okay. But so the Air family of models, they did say that they don't plan currently on having a GLM-4.6 Air, which would just be kind of a lighter model. So that is something that folks may be a little upset about. However, regardless, this is cool to see, and it definitely just shows promise in open source, kind of keeping in a relative closeness to state-of-the-art and closed source. So that is going to conclude our testing of GLM 4.6. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.